Patrick Bateman is an investment banker in New York. Except from his jealous and self-hatred nature, he is rich and a perfect guy. His first crime begins one night after he finishes a meeting with his clique of vice presidents, whom he hates. He expects to be the star of the meeting that day, but he is so disappointed that no one cares about how good he is doing. On his way, he sees a homeless man who begs him for money. He stops to speak with the man and pretends to be sympathetic to him. He promises to give the man a job, but he brings out a knife from his briefcase and he stabs the man. That counts as Patrick's first crime in the movie, and it is murder. A first-degree murder that was done with a cruel mind, which would earn him his first life imprisonment. As though killing the man isn't enough, he uses his legs to hit the beggar's dog until the dog dies, adding animal cruelty to his list of crimes, and that is punishable by not less than 7 years imprisonment and several thousands of fines. Just a few minutes down in the movie, Patrick has 2 crimes and may not even escape his jail terms. He has so much hatred for his colleague Paul, because Paul seems to be much richer than he is, and Paul can also get access to a very great restaurant that he had been trying to book for a while and couldn't book.
I need reservations for 3 at Camel's.
To plot his revenge against Paul, he goes out on a dinner date with Paul. He gets Paul drunk and takes him to his house so they can finish the date there. Patrick is so prepared to murder Paul. He wears a coat, takes an axe, and scatters Paul's bones, flesh, and blood around the corners as he kills him happily and adds another crime to his 2 earlier crimes. Having committed another murder, Patrick now has committed 3 crimes, namely 2 murders and 1 animal cruelty. He then wraps Paul's body into a bag to dispose of it, adding that misdemeanor to his list of 3 crimes. He obstructs justice by visiting Paul's house to pack some of Paul's clothes in a bag and leaving a voice message on his phone, telling everyone that Paul has gone to London.
Hi, this is Paul. Been called away to London for a few days.
He adds to his crime of obstructing justice by lying to the detective who had come to investigate Paul's disappearance, Detective Donalds. Adding those petty misdemeanors to Patrick's crimes, he must have about 2 life imprisonment and not less than 9 years imprisonment, which is 7 years for animal cruelty and 2 years of obstruction of justice. Later, he takes some roadside lady home for sexual pleasure, and instead of enjoying himself as he should, he decides to assault the ladies and also sexually assault and torture them, so that they leave his house the following day with several injuries on their bodies, from their faces to their back. He adds 2 counts of sexual assault to his list of crimes, which could earn him not less than 5 years imprisonment each. With 5 crimes down the line, Patrick could be looking at the death penalty or countless years of imprisonment. Let's see how much he will have before the end of the movie. Following that day, he goes for another dinner with his colleagues at work, and one of them, Lewis, reveals his newly made card, which is way more beautiful than Patrick's own. Jealously, Patrick decides to kill Lewis too. He follows Lewis to the restroom and attempts to kill him. He strangles him, but Lewis mistakes the attempt to murder as a love gesture, as he is gay. Although the attempt didn't lead to murder, that attempt can be said to be Patrick's 6th crime, which typically carries a prison term of about 7 years imprisonment. As of now, Patrick has committed 6 crimes, ranging from 2 counts of murder, animal cruelty, attempt to murder, sexual assault, and some other crimes, and he should be looking at 2 life imprisonment and about 26 years imprisonment at a stretch. Now, let's see if justice will take his place.
I think they're undisputed masterpieces, hip to be square.
As Detective Donald is also now suspicious of Patrick, he visits Patrick again to interrogate him about the disappearance of Paul, as evidenced by the fact that Patrick had met with Paul before his death. Patrick denies having any involvement, and Donald leaves. That night, frustrated, he visits a club and takes illegal substances. The crime of usage of illegal substances adds to his initial crimes, and now he has 7 counts of crime. And the crime of illegal substances is luckily a petty offense punishable by just fines. On his way out of the club, he takes a model home. At home, he kills the model and removes her head. He keeps her head in the fridge. He has committed the 3rd known murder in the movie, and that should be another count of life imprisonment to his present 27 years of imprisonment. The following day, he asks his secretary out on a date, and she follows him home. He prepares to murder at home. He puts some nails into his nail dispenser and stands behind her back to shoot them at her. But fortunately, he receives a voice message that distracts him, leaving his crime as just an attempt to murder. He adds another count to his attempt to murder, which is punishable by 7 years imprisonment. He lets her go since he has failed in his attempt. He tries to find more victims, so he reaches out to one of the girls he had sexually assaulted during their last encounter, Christy. At first, she bluntly refuses to follow him home after what she has recently gone through, but he convinces her that it won't be the same. He takes her home and brings another one of his colleagues, Elizabeth. I join them at home for a nice time. He decides to drug them so they won't feel what he is doing to them. The use of rape-assistant drugs is punishable by 20 years imprisonment. He drugs them both, making it 2 counts of drug abuse and 20 years imprisonment each. He adds that to his counts of over 29 years imprisonment, making it about 49 years. He also now has 3 counts of life imprisonment to serve. The girls take this drink and they go down on him. As he eats Elizabeth down there, he starts eating her in a real sense, and blood starts flowing. He starts killing her and eventually does. That's his 4th murder in the movie and another count of life imprisonment. Christy witnesses what has happened to Elizabeth and doesn't want the same for herself, so she packs her clothes to leave the house. As she tries to find a way out, she sees several bodies of ladies. These ladies have been mutilated brutally by Patrick. These girls can't be less than 5, and their bodies have been wrapped in the house. Counting those bodies to the number of murders that he had committed in the movie, he has about 9 counts of murder, which should result in about 9 counts of life imprisonment. At this point, I think it's hopeless to keep counting the counts he could spend in jail, because this villain isn't like any other villain you have seen. The fact that there is no known reason why he keeps killing could make him conclude that he is just a psycho who gets joy in killing.
I will kill you.
Christy tries to race for her life. She successfully gets to the staircase and starts running down. To ensure she doesn't survive, he takes a chainsaw and drops it on her as she runs. He kills her, making her his 10th murder, and he laughs happily. He is indeed an American psycho. He goes to use an ATM later, and he sees a stray cat. He is about to commit another animal cruelty by killing the cat, but a woman sees him and calls him into order. But he shoots at the woman instead, adding her to his list of victims. His shot attracts the police van coming, and he tries to run away. No matter how he runs, they catch up with him. He decides to shoot back, kills about 4 police officers that night, and sets the 2 police cars on fire, adding arson to his initial list of crimes. While trying to escape, he enters a company and kills the receptionist. He takes the door and sees another worker whom he kills. He goes to his company and enters his office. He keeps seeing the light staring at him, and he assumes that night will be the night of his reckoning, where he will be caught. Hence, he decides to call his lawyer, Carnes, to confess to all his crimes. He confesses to Carnes that he has killed about 40 people, ranging from some call girls, about 5 homeless people whom he has found on the street, and some police officers whom he killed that evening, his ex-girlfriend, and some other people. He admits that he killed Paul too, and says he just tends to kill. He claims that he has eaten some of his victims' brain raw, and he even tried to cook some of the brains. He had done so many things, and he just wanted to be stopped. However, no one arrests him that evening, and that gets him more pissed.
This confession has meant Nothing.
He goes home, cleans up, and goes on a date with his colleagues. He sees Carnes at the restaurant and tries to remind Carnes of the voice message he had sent. Carnes mistakes him for someone else and says Patrick is usually a boring guy. He takes everything he had heard in that voice message as a joke and doesn't believe it. Patrick has lost count of how many people he has killed, and he tries to prove to Carnes that he is indeed the one. He insists he killed Paul, but Carnes said he met with Paul twice in London in about 10 days, and he is sure Paul is alive, so the strange man should stop saying nonsense. He doesn't believe the man is Patrick and walks away. Now, Patrick isn't sure if his crimes were real or not. All he knows is that he feels so much pain, and he wants to inflict that pain on the world. He has tried to confess, but his confession doesn't hold water. Hence, he promises to keep passing his pain around, as he doesn't want anyone to have a good ending. To me, Patrick's crimes are unforgivable. If he is caught, I don't even think several counts of life imprisonment is enough punishment for him. Maybe death by firing squad or electrocution could do it, and he must feel the same pain others felt. Now, what do you think can be the best punishment for him?